particular delusional aging collapse narcissist I'm going to talk about is my ex-husband. But this story brought to light a particular problem involving a lot of aging narcissists that I'm going to talk about at the end of this story. So if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. This all started about in 2015. My husband and I were separated, but I thought we were working on our marriage and we were in counseling. But at the same time that we were in counseling for our marriage, unbeknownst to me, he was starting he was online dating. And he had signed up on this, or he says his cousin signed him up on an online dating site, an Asian dating site. And he began corresponding with this Asian woman. Well, I guess he was also being catfished, so she wasn't real. And he sent this person money, which I later found out, and I took shots of everything, and he tried to deny everything, blamed it all on his cousin, etc., etc. And then when that didn't work out, he hoovered me back in, we got back together, etc. Which then later on, we broke up again, and we were talking of divorce, and he went through his next catfish dating online experience. This woman he befriended him on Facebook, and he had all these women befriending him on Facebook. Well, they were all the Facebook scammers, and I get Facebook scammers all the time. And because I'm an older woman and I'm single, so these Facebook scammers try to pretend that they are widowers and they're engineers, and one said he was a doctor for the UN, and they try to friend request you all the time, and you can look and tell that they're scammers. Well, I guess my ex, although he wasn't my ex at the time, was getting all these hot women fake scammers on Facebook. Being the narcissist that he is, he thought all these women were real. And he had all these women friends on his Facebook. And he was collecting them all and thought they were all real, because he was being a delusional narcissist in his 60s. He began dyeing his gray hair and saying, well, I'm 60, now he's 64, at the time he was 63 or 62, but I look 45, because these Facebook scammers were telling him he looked that way, and he was telling himself that he looked that way. I'm not even going to get into the fact that I got myself hoovered back in during the same time, but this scammer, Facebook scammer woman, was very hot. I mean, big breasts, gorgeous, 31 years old. He is 63. Says she lives in Minnesota. He lives in Nevada, but there's always excuses, and wanting money, somebody's sick, needing an operation, and he's like, I don't know if he's sending money or not, because of course he's not telling me this, but he's supposedly falling for all this, wanting the divorce from me very badly so that he can marry this woman. And he's telling me how all these hot women want him. Well, they are all the Facebook scammers that are wanting him. He's a delusional narcissist at this point. So I told him, fine, but you're going to have to give me some alimony. Well, at this point, I guess this, scamming Facebook hot woman that he thinks he's going to marry, and at one point he even posted their engagement thing on Facebook, that she must have said that she was rich, because I think that's what these scammers do. I've watched some stuff on Dr. Phil. This is very Dr. Phil kind of stuff. Hard to believe. I think he needs to watch some Dr. Phil. But I don't think he wants to. He wants to believe his delusions. He wants to live in his fantasy world. And he had me, of course he didn't want to believe me, but he had his kids like telling him, this isn't real, Dad, there's too many red flags here. But he wasn't buying any of it. Because at one point when I said, well, you'll have to give me some alimony to get divorced, he said, well, what if I paid you off all the alimony in advance? Because this person, this scammer, they tell them that they're rich, which the amount of alimony that he's paying me, it's lifetime, but it's only $353 a month that I get for alimony. The other part, I do get part of his pension, which is $297. So the total I get out of him is $650 a month, but the alimony portion is $353. So he was going to try to pay that all off in advance. I don't know how. I thinking he was going to get a bunch of money from this fake person. So we did get divorced in February of 2018. So it's just a little over a year. And so I guess sometime after the divorce is when he discovered that this person was not real. But he was still, so this fake Asian woman in 2015, and then this other fake woman who I think was like supposed to be Spanish, was also, both of them were in their 30s, and he is now 64. So in July, I believe, he signed up for this thing called Charm Date, which accidentally came across my email. I don't know how that happened accidentally, but somehow it did. But when I looked into it, it is paper letter, and it's kind of a scammy site owned by the Chinese. And so he's looking for a Ukrainian bride now. So on these sites, these men have to pay to correspond with these young women. So he had been corresponding with some woman, I guess, because he finally told my stepdaughter he was going in February, this past month, to meet with this 31-year-old model, which he sent her a picture to my stepdaughter, and she sent me the picture of this really hot 31-year-old model. Well, we got online and looked at the scams that they run, and these marriage agencies, especially this Charm Date, are kind of a scam, and they are just scamming the men. It's all about them making money off the men, and most of these women don't even really talk to the men. It's just translators, and it's just all taking their money. So it's sort of the scammers getting scammed. But at the same time, it is very disturbing the amount of older men, and they're mostly narcissistic men, because what they are saying is they do not like American women. acting as if all American women are feminazis, but what they're really saying is they want women that are submissive and traditional. So what they are looking for is women they can control. And they're looking for women that are 30 and 40 years younger than them. So if you really go and look on these sites, they have these tours over there in Ukraine and Kiev and stuff. And it's really kind of gross and disgusting because it's men in their 60s and a bunch of these women in their 20s and 30s. And they're just trying to take advantage of these young women, but I think a lot of the young women are actually taking advantage of the men too, because a lot of these women actually have boyfriends or husbands. They have no intention of marrying these men. If the men actually have money, then they could probably buy themselves a bride. Not that the women actually love the men, then those women are called gold diggers. But men like my ex, he really does not have any money. The most disturbing thing that he did in getting over to the Ukraine is, I had said to my daughter, my stepdaughter, how do you think he got there? He didn't have enough money to go there. And I had made another video about that, which is basically that he pretended to have cancer and he raised money illegally on GoFundMe to pay for his trip to the Ukraine by faking cancer. But from what she talked to him, he did not come back with a bride. And it sounded like it was exactly what we had seen in the videos, where that particular person, I don't know if he met with the exact one he'd been talking to. They sent him on multiple dates with multiple women, where you're paying for the woman, you're paying for the translator, for the meals, maybe buying them gifts, cab fare, etc. So it's kind of like the scammers are also getting scammed. So you could maybe look at it as karma, or reaping what you're sowing. But he's being very delusional, and I don't think he is going to quit until he secures a young woman or dies trying, because he's living in a world of delusion and he really is not a wealthy person. So he's going to keep trying, but it opened my eyes to this disturbing trend of what appears to be, and it's also on 90 Day Fiancé, but it's all in these marriage agencies, and these older men, Western men, that are searching for these foreign brides that are much younger women. And so most of these are narcissistic, abusive men. Now they're going to go to a foreign country, get this poor young girl who does not speak the language, bring her over here where she's going to be very isolated, not just from family and friends, but there's going to be a language barrier also. I went to a support group and met with, in the support group, a Russian woman. And she was divorced from her husband, but he had controlled everything, including, you know, the culture, the language. I mean, he controlled what she told her because she didn't understand our culture. I mean, she got away, but she was still being abused by him through the court system, even though he had another woman just because he could not stop abusing her. So it is just a very sad state of affairs. And if you want to learn more about what goes on with these marriage agencies, I suggest you just look up marriage agency scams, Ukraine. It's very interesting, and to see kind of the pathetic kind of men that go there. And don't feel too sorry for these men that do that, because mostly they're wanting to take advantage of these women. And why aren't they looking for women in their own country? Why are they going to foreign countries to search for these women? So anyway, that is just my story of my ex, who is a collapsed narcissist because he has no supply. He has been looking for a new main source of supply since 2015 and has not secured one yet, because he's delusionally thinking that at 64, and he's not a wealthy man, that he should be able to get a 30-year-old woman. And he's had a vasectomy, so he can't even give her children. So I'm not sure what he feels that he has to offer this woman, but he delusionally thinks he looks 45. He does not look 45.